I'm going to go over the BoneLab cut content iceberg, and wow did I find some strange things. We'll start at the top with more commonly known content and work our way to the more obscure. Starting with the hub, where if you walk into an area, it enables this hollow deck. The mod section features this really cool void texture. The experimental zone has the same one. The parkour one makes you feel like you're in a cloud. Arena puts you into a field, and so does Attack Trial. Sandbox puts you into space, which makes the planets look even cooler. I love the animation when the effect appears. The way it merges into the ground looks really cool. I wonder why this was cut from the game. On the Monogon motorway, if you drive all the way to the end, you notice this strange tunnel at the end that looks like some kind of entrance. I went through it and inspected the game files, noticing there's a huge chunk of the map called the jump chamber that's just missing. I no-clipped through and spawned a go-kart. You have to go up a steep incline. The road then splits into two pathways. The first one takes you to a small ramp and you can knock over the bowling balls. It's very hard to control the car when you're going down the hill. The physics kind of trips out of it. I wonder if that's why they cut it from the final game. The second one takes you to a much steeper ramp. It's such a cool concept. It reminds me of those Halo custom maps. I think I got a bullseye on this one. There's a button underneath that resets the pins, but they reset automatically if you knock them over, so it's weird that it exists. But it's kind of weird that anything exists at all, if you think about it. I found this random ledge here that seems like it could have linked to the underground section at some point. If you keep driving, you end up at this blocked off tunnel, but if you no-clip through, you're back at the start. The Moon game files show a hidden cart. Noticeably, the cart is much bigger than the normal one. Perhaps they were making some kind of Moon version of it and then cut it out of the game. It doesn't control very well. I wonder if they just couldn't get the physics working in time. It's a bit hard to drive, you end up flipping over. A cart on this map probably would have made the experience much better. Walking to the end of it, especially before any of the patches, was such a nightmare. I tried a normal size cart and you have the same issues. Even if you attach more weight to it, it doesn't fix the problem. It's still a lot of fun though. You always end up upside down after not much time. While we're on Moonbase, it also had some kind of moon booster gun, similar to the spawn gun. It's assumed it was to help you get around. Halfway Park has a giant viaduct cut from the map. It's fun having a ledge to throw Fords off. Driving and running across it is also an option. I can see why they cut it though. It's nice having some open space. A lot of the BoneLab maps are very closed off. In the main menu, I found this object called the recursion chamber. Interestingly, when you walk close to it, you get teleported on top of it. Then, from the inside, you can't seem to escape as well. Every time you get close to that border, you just get teleported on top of it. Objects, however, can go straight through it. There's a section below the floor as well. But what could it possibly be? Boneworks has an achievement that mentions recursion. It involves getting a handgun from the redacted chamber, but that doesn't explain it. In mathematics and computer science, recursion refers to the process where a function calls itself directly or indirectly in order to solve a smaller instance of the same problem. The original main menu could have featured this box, but invisible, so you would stay at the main menu. Or it could have just been for player testing. I'd love to hear your theories on this box below. The main menu also has smoke that was originally coming out of this pipe. And this polygon avatar that you can spawn to sit in front of the main menu. There's also this invisible wall, which is from the original menu before you beat the campaign. Objects actually bounce off it. There's this huge button, and if you zoom all the way out, it just says dummy. And Lava Gang text, which is from the original main menu. There's this hidden art on the back of the main menu. It seems to represent the Bodylog machine and has the symbol for it as well. It's labelled the Vitruvian Man, which is a famous drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, created around 1490. There are two avatars that were cut from the final game. One is a dog from Stress Level Zero's earlier game, Duck Season. The other is a reference to a pirate skeleton, although there's no difference between that and the normal skeleton, so they must not have developed the actual asset. Either way, it was probably planned to be in the game at one point. There's a range of cut avatar voice lines from the game. I'm not sure if they happened when you switched avatars or just while you were playing, but they're in the game files regardless.
What you looking at? Let's rumble. Throw down.
Face me. Any target. Beyond fear.
Born of fire. Unstoppable. Ready for war.
Shut up. What, yeah?
Let's have fun. Okay, go. Adventure away.
Beyond ascend.
I can see why they cut them. It would probably be a bit annoying. You're probably all aware of the Tunnel Tipper map. There's reference in the game files that at one point in development, Tunnel Tipper was going to have a tactile variant. It seems to have been cut from the final game though. There are radios everywhere in BoneLab where you hear the story through Jimmy. However, YouTuber Orb noticed there were cut broadcasts in the game files. We get to hear from Jay, who starts to notice things aren't quite what they seem.
The trees. Look at the trees. Every single tree in this town is between 2 and 4 meters. I don't know what's more discouraging, the evidence that the reality you're trapped in isn't very real, or the fact that it's such a piss poor simulation. It's just shoddy.
Throughout the broadcast, he starts noticing weird things about reality and slowly begins to believe that he's in some kind of simulation. It's very creepy and a pretty cool listen. The real question everyone has is, why was it cut from the game? And what was it intended for if it wouldn't have been cut? I covered it in my Patch 5 video, but there's this gigantic hidden area underneath the mine dive level. A lot more to this map than we initially thought. If you no-clip below the wishing well, you discover an entirely new secret area. And if you look a bit closer, you can put your keycard into the wishing well, opening this giant hole, which takes you to this music energy core, and you can see all these floating particles around. Initially I thought that making noise would change the way they moved around, but it didn't seem to do anything. In the game files, it's referred to as the acoustic reactor. There are half-finished areas absolutely everywhere, and none of it seems to make much sense. I also mentioned there are all these doors across the map. Well, in Patch 5, they've all been updated so you can open them. I also took a look at this really suspicious hole and found an elevator at the bottom of it. The elevator seems to be fully functioning as well, being able to take you up if you press the button. It seems to go nowhere, but I still thought it was extremely strange. There's something odd going on this map. Whether there's a whole bunch of cut content or they're going to add something to it later on, it's just bizarre. At one point in BoneLab, there were more enemy types. One of the most popular ones that we found in the game files is the armworm. It was reportedly going to make some kind of screeching sound, and there's a few references to it having dismemberable limbs, which would have made such a cool enemy. This is the only image of it we have in the game files. It also had its own map just for testing. At some point, there was some kind of pen that would interact with the whiteboard, but we didn't seem to get it in the end. In the beta version, there was a yellow Sablake version of one of the pistols. It was in the Neon District dev room. But after patch 3, it just completely disappeared. There seems to have been a plan at one point to have a golden version of the Gruber pistol. Luckily, modders have already put a golden one in the game. At one point, the avatar changing mechanism was some kind of gun. We know it was the same size as the spawn gun. There's references to it being in pink, white, and teal colors. There was a turret called the Dingil turret. We don't really have much information on it, but it's in the game files. There's some references to it being able to walk. There's references all over the game files that seem to hint at some kind of ice element to the game. The ice axe was exactly what it sounds like. A melee weapon that is an ice axe. I wonder if you could potentially use it to climb as well. There was also an ice skeleton that could freeze you. There were barrels that would explode when you shot them. They were on the streets map, but got disabled. There were also propane tanks, and the explosion animation is even still in the game files. There's a D22 bolt-action shotgun that's been disabled from the game. Some modders got it working. We found this different style of Omni-Wrecker wheel as well. It's referenced as the Void Wrecker, so it could potentially have been a different enemy or version of it. There's a ton of cut spawnable items. There was some kind of Void Saber sword, a grappling gun, and a switchblade knife that didn't make it in. There's a whole range of items that were presumably used for testing the game, so it's not worth mentioning them individually. DevSky was a map Brandon featured in a video that tested the pelvic tracking of an avatar. A mod has been kind enough to recreate it. There were a range of completely cut maps, including a convertible test scene, a gun range tac trial sandbox map, a maze, a map where you were getting chased by a truck or go-kart. There's this cube map reflection that is from a level that didn't make it into the game. There's some hidden light waves on the descent, as well as a button on the escalator that changes its direction. An unused turntable puzzle with these strange looking trees. You have to rearrange them, which adjusts the pillars, so once you climb up you can then walk through the map. I can kind of see why they cut it. It would be a bit annoying having to jump up and down if you made a tiny mistake. In Big Anomaly, when you get the ability to change avatars on the fly, it was originally this big implant that would attach to your arm. Or maybe it's an early version of it. Either way, it's very strange, it's just hidden on the map in front of you. To customize the avatars on your arm, you have to go to a bodylog machine. But at some point, the bodylog machine UI was embedded into mirrors. There are a range of cut BoneLab mechanics, including a health bar as well as a regeneration one with a death icon and a time to death indicator. They seem to have been completely cut from the game, or maybe they were originally just for testing. They were reviewable from your bodylog patch. There's references to a game mechanic where you could unlock different songs in the form of monodiscs, which you could play at different jukeboxes, which are all over BoneLab but marked out of order. It would also help users add custom audio tracks via modding. There's a similar system in Boneworks that's fully working, where you can put headphones on and change the song. The community's speculating that it'll probably be added in some kind of future update. And perfectly, there's 3 audio tracks that are hidden in the game files that will probably be introduced with that update. There's a couple references in the game files that there was a third-person camera that you could adjust to the spectator view. It's a shame this isn't in the game. I would have loved some kind of freestyle camera, but we have to leave it to modders. I'd love to give a massive shout out to the community who made this document. It comes with a lot of information on cut BoneLab content, and I'd definitely check out all of their ats. But thanks so much for watching the video. It was an absolute pleasure going through the game and exploring these unsolved mysteries. Let me know if I missed anything below, and I'll probably see you at the next BoneLab update.